Welcome to Unlock Your Soul with yours truly, Anto Neosoul, right here at Nairobi Street Kitchen. And one of the reasons why I love this episode is because the guy that I'm seated with is actually the artist behind our Mexican street food kitchen. It's called Si Senor. So we're going to be showing you shots of how amazing it looks like. And this guy is the one who's literally behind it. So yeah, welcome to Unlock Your Soul. I'm talking today to an artist, to a visual storyteller, someone who's done this for a long time but doesn't age. So we're going to be finding out his secret to staying young, but also his secret to being relevant and being real and being himself. Is one and only Mr. I call him Bhupi.
Yeah, we've known each other for a while, man.
But his friends call him, his fans call him
WiseTwo.
WiseTwo. Or Too Wise. I think it's Too Wise. That's why it's called WiseTwo. And we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, including Banksy and Bhoopsy, I think.
Well, the Banksy one, it's interesting to dive into it, but I think we will touch into it, of course. But I feel like a lot of people have spoken about it. Mm-hmm. So I think we should now look, but we will speak about it in a way that makes sense, no?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll decipher everything that we want to talk about, touch on today. But let's start off with you and your love affair with art. Before we talk about graffiti and everything, your love affair with art, how did this start?
I mean, it's like, I think if you date back, my love affair with art has always been there, like looking at comic books, looking at things like, if you look at Metallica when they had their t-shirts coming out, you know, heavy, like those graphics would attract me to it. Yeah. And then later on just started working into just, you know, most of the comic books, the stories that they tell you. Mm-hmm. That was more inspiring. So I think that's where the love affair started with art.
Any artist who you, I mean, once you sort of got to interact with the art and it just made you be like, shit, this is why I do what I do?
I mean, it's difficult to say because I think like what I do is from the streets. Yeah. And recently I have come across works. Well, I have come across works when I was growing up, but now I've been in a position to be more appreciative of the work that you see with masters, you know, with Vincent van Gogh or Leonardo da Vinci in his sketches, things like that. But I think the most important thing growing up was not trying to be that like super influenced by that kind of work. It was also more like trying to find your own style, trying to find your own voice before you can now start looking into all these other great artists. Yeah. So I think that's my journey. Right now I'm still looking at like classic way of painting, looking at iconography, looking at symbology, looking at ancient cultures. Because a lot of graffiti these days, well, for me, in my perspective, is a European or a Western style of writing, which is great because it's like one of the backbones. Yeah. But for me, it's like trying to dig deep into culture, into roots, into things that have made a huge difference. Yeah. You know? And I want to be able to spread that.
So tell us about your growing up. I mean, I don't think I've ever asked you this question ever, but I mean, tell us about your growing up from when you were born to the days of WaPi. I mean, who's Bhupi? Who what's your DNA?
Man, that's a good question. I'm still trying to figure out. Yeah. Because it's a journey. I think we have never figured out who we truly are. You know, we have a lot of work to do. We have so much of things that we need to self-reflect on. Yeah. So I think growing up, one thing I've been true to is always...
But I mean growing up, like, where were you born? Like, I mean...
I've been born and raised in Nairobi, Kenya.
Where is Nairobi? This thing of like... You know, we sometimes speak like white people. We're like, I was born in Africa. No, you're not brought up in
Nairobi,
where?
in Kenya, in East Africa.
Where is Nairobi? Like, where? Nairobi is big. There's Korogocho, there's Kawangware, there's... Because the reason why I always like people being specific is that it allows people who watch you or who try to understand your journey, they begin to relate, they begin to see that you're more human than just this guy who made it from Nairobi. So where?
So my parents had moved in from a very long time. My father has been here when he was a child, like maybe when he was, I don't know, I can't remember, 9, 10. My mother the same. They used to stay in Isli. They used to have a supermarket there. They used to roam around in Isli, walk all the way to town, Gara, Shan Cinema, everything. Like they used to do these things in the night. So they were there. Then I was born later on, way later on. Moved in from Eastleigh to Ngara, Ngara to ST, ST to Parklands.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a community thing. So most of the communities you see, they always move where
exactly
the society,
your vibe, your tribe.
Yeah, your vibe, your tribe, exactly. And they will never see them trying to uproot themselves to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that they were in Italy, which is great because it's a story that can be told, and also they see the differences of what Italy is today and what it was those many years ago.
Then,
Still have friends from that period of time. So that has also contributed to my DNA, and I've always been different. I don't hang around with my own people, which is kind of funny because I have my friends who are my own people.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've always been curious. That's how I know you. That's how I know a lot of people. Even that journey to WaPi was because of trying to become. To find that realness, especially when I'm in this country, when I'm born as a first generation Kenyan. I need to learn the language. I need to learn the slang. I need to learn these things. This is my curiosity. There's a lot of Kenyans out there who don't even know certain things, and I mean,
you meet Kenyans who are so proud to say, me, I don't speak Swahili. I'm like,
no,
that's a good thing.
That's wrong. You should.
Yeah, but also, why do you think you shouldn't even say it?
Don't say it. Learn it.
You should be learning at night. So during the day, I've met Nigerians. I have a friend of mine called Ego.
Yeah.
She works for Google. She's such a powerful woman. And she's not even Nigerian. She's British Nigerian, but she hasn't grown up in Nigeria. But she speaks Swahili.
Exactly.
Like, she's like, shikamo, she's like, marahaba. I'm like,
nah.
She's like, because if I'm going to be with your people, I'm going to learn the language.
Yeah, even if you go to Nigeria, you're going to speak whatever dialect there is. Even me, when I end up in Cuba or in Mexico and Argentina, you try and you learn the Spanish, but you also learn the Spanish that's specific to that area.
Yeah.
You don't have to embed yourself entirely, but you have to make that effort. So people, when they see you and when you speak the language, they say that this guy, he's making the effort.
Exactly.
This is dope because it's a connection, it's a bridge. And
but also for you,
for
you, it's not even, it's part of you who you are because you are Kenyan number one.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's also get into something a bit before we get into WaPi, and WaPi is Words and Pictures, a platform by British Council. That doesn't happen anymore, but I mean, it's really built a lot of us. There's always, first, describe to us how somebody should describe Bhupi in terms of nationality. Are you Kenyan? Are you Indian Kenyan? Are you Kenyan Indian? Because I always feel and this I've also had the conversation with someone who's Somali. Was Somalis and Indians, you're the only people are so quick to first call them by their tribe. We feel very comfortable to say Luos or Kikuyus, it's like I don't want to speak like that,
I think it boils down to nationalism mostly when you're proud of where you're from, your nation, right? That's the whole concept of nationalism. But I feel like if you're born in this country, you are Kenyan. You can identify with those roots. I am born and raised in this place. But there's also that argument, what makes you Kenyan or what makes you African? Is it the color of your skin? Or is it the amount of knowledge or your exposure that you have?
It's where your placenta is rooted.
Exactly. So I think even this idea of Indian Kenyan, Kenyan Indian, I think it comes from the concept of how the Americans use it. Everybody else who's not from the United States are labeled as Chinese American, Indian American. So it's the same thing that we see and we emulate.
Exactly.
And we're like, hey, you know what? We want to be like these people. But in the reality, there is nobody who's an original American. It's always going to be indigenous people. Which is Native Americans.
Exactly. Everyone else is a visitor.
It's a visitor. It's everyone the same thing over here.
Period. Yeah.
Like, the things that I've
visitors.
Done,
if we woke up today and shit happened between us and Uganda, nobody would give a damn if you're
you have to also remember. Black and brown people have always been part of colonization. They've always been part of revolution. They've always been part of resistance. We have had forget the lawyer's name. Pinto.
Piogama Pinto.
He was assassinated. But his roots are
Indian. He wasn't fighting for Goans.
No,
he wasn't fighting for Indians. He was fighting for Kenyans. There was never, by the way, for Piogama Pinto. I feel like until we got older, and obviously the name itself.
For Piogama, exactly.
The name itself will make us think, he might not be Kikuyu or Luo or whatever. But he was always a freedom fighter for Kenya. He was never for any other person. So
even the Sikhs. Even the Sikhs. The ones who have the turban on. They have also been part of revolution for this country. They have fought on the side of rebellion.
Yes.
You see, so it's not only because it's the color. We do understand
exactly, but also again, like you're saying, it's a means and a way for the imperialists to remind us to always segregate, to always divide and conquer by, oh, you know, this, you're not really Kenyan, you're not fully. So now let's get to WaPi. We meet at this amazing platform. WaPi basically means words and pictures, but it's also a nice double entendre for where. And it's, you know, it's where a lot of us, you know, sort of began. It's where a lot of us started to begin to find themselves. What was WaPi as a platform for you, and as a platform for you as a graffiti artist, sort of really having somebody and an authority, a stamp of approval that what you're doing is not rebellious or crazy or illegal. You are a great artist, even if you're a graffiti artist.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think WaPi, the platform itself was amazing because I feel like without that platform, many of us wouldn't have been there, or many of us wouldn't have tapped into this raw talent that we had. And I think that raw talent, it was birthed there. I met you. I made good friends with Point Blank. I used to hang around with Ukoflani Mau Mau the whole time. I was the one brown guy in Ukoflani Mau Mau, which was crazy. With Agano and Labala, which was like, if you hit them up, they'll be like, Bhupi, like, yo, it's been a while, you know, and that was my crowd. With Jirongi, with Wenyeji, with Zakai.
Even like the Octo Nosari North, Khaligraph, all these guys.
As well. With most of the artists. And I think, but it also boils down to you, because there's so much competition at WaPi that you would be ostracized or you'd be put on the sideline, and then you've been told, hey, you know what, I don't think we have space. So you have to be very aggressive. And this is not something that you sit down and say, hey, you know what, my turn will come. Your turn to eat will not come. You have to push.
You have to
fight.
You
have to force yourself in the line, in the bank, wherever you are that you're trying to get it.
Exactly.
You have to do that. So I think WaPi brought out that hustle spirit. And you know for yourself.
I like that, Because the thing about WaPi is that there was never a conversation around what is fully Kenyan, what is fully creative. There's no elitist sort of, you know, conundrum as to who is amazing, who is great. No, is that you come here to be great.
You prove yourself.
No,
the next WaPi, you maybe not prove yourself.
You're singing in front of rappers who might just boo you the shit out of you, but they're there like, that's our boy, that's Anto. Like, we sing with you, we rap. What do you want?
Exactly.
But, so now you've left. I mean, now WaPi is done with. You know, it's closed off. It's always a funding thing. The time is over, and I think it was a good platform. We now said, now you know what? Now let's build ourselves. Then I begin to see you all over the world, literally. Tell us about some of the places you've traveled, what the projects have been, and one, most importantly, how these things have come to happen.
That's another great question, man. I think you're just bombarding me with great questions. I should have been...
Can I be honest? Until today, for example, is when I've had this Kenyan conversation with you. It's hit me. I had goosebumps. It hit me when I was speaking to you. That I've never seen you. I've never seen you like that.
No, I mean, so, you've never seen me that way.
You know why? Because first, when I mean like that, I don't mean there's no Indian way to be. You know, I've only seen you as a very, very talented person and someone who never ages. But I don't know how this is possible. You really need to talk to us about your.
No,
you don't age at all.
You gotta talk to Pharrell about that.
Yeah, but you and Pharrell, same WhatsApp group.
I don't know. When I see him, maybe I'll be like, hey, Pharrell.
And I know it's possible for you to meet someone like Pharrell. I think it's very possible.
I think it's very possible.
It's very possible.
With my
but
game.
Also, you've always been very outspoken. And not outspoken to mean just kiherehere. No. Like, you're very clear, intentional, concise, precise about what you believe in, about what you... Everything, when you're doing your graffiti, about what you stand for, you're very particular. So, you now... And that's why it's easy for me to bombard you with these great questions, because I feel like you have the agency. You have the agency inside here.
I do.
To deal with this stuff.
I do, you're right.
So how do you move from the streets of Nairobi to where people... Artists understand what graffiti is, but, you know, people legally, maybe they don't understand it. Maybe they, or whatever, these guys are just rebellious or whatever. To being in Argentina, to being in Mexico. How does that happen? How does 360 happen for you?
So I think when it's the thing is that after WaPi, a lot of artists realized that now we don't have a platform. They tried at Sarakasi, it never went through. But it boils down to one thing: hunger. even if you make it to a certain level, the hunger that you have for your craft, that will push you to the next level. I think it was just the hunger. So when WaPi ended, we did this project with Basco. It was called Spray for Change. Amazing project.
Wow, yeah.
The person behind it was really smart, really like calculating. He saw the vision. Unfortunately, never went further than 2 years or 3 years. We did some work at the United Nations. We did a lot of stuff like that. But I saw that opportunity. I did ask them, hey, I have been invited to go to New York to paint for a big festival. Is it possible for you to help me out?
Yeah, to help me get there.
I have nothing to lose. I said, hey, if I have nothing to lose, why don't I just ask them? And they said, you know what, this is great. Since we've done all this and they've seen your work, let's fly you there. We've got the tickets, Emirates, man. One of first class, but it was economy, was okay.
Yeah, it's like, I'm getting there. The decision matters,
upstate New York.
In New York. First and foremost, the second person this week who I've met who's been to New York. I hate all of you people who've been to New York.
I've been to New York like 6-7 times,
God,
bro.
Shut up.
I paid too much in New York. And a lot of people in New York.
I love New York. Like, you don't understand. I always tell guys, me, I know
that. If you go, I'll connect you with my people.
Yeah, you gotta make it happen. So now, Bhupi lands in New York.
I went upstate New York. So when I get to New York, they get me a flight, local flight, 1.5 hours, flight to Rochester, New York. The guy who's the organizer, really cool guy, is a radiologist. I still talk to him till today.
Wow.
Mad respect.
Wow.
He picks me up. I'm in the car with one of the, like, a lady. She's called Lady Pink. And she is one of the oldest writers, like, she's old, but she's also one of the pioneers in New York. She was like 15, 16, painting the trains in New York. She was telling me, I never knew.
Wow.
And when I was painting a wall next to her and her husband. And the husband's brother was one of the first guys to write on the Brooklyn Bridge, to tag on the Brooklyn Bridge.
Wow.
He passed away. I don't know what happened. I don't know the details of it, but he passed away. But I'm with these people, and this opened my world. I thought that, hey, Nairobi, we do graffiti, sure. But once we start moving outside of Nairobi, the borders open. I'm with the old school guys who started painting graffiti in New York that we look at as kids over here in Kenya, looking at the magazines.
Yeah, and now you're right smack next to them.
Friends with Lady Pink. I went to her house for dinner.
Wow.
And we were talking about conversations about art, street art, all the artists that I only know from the books. I got to know there. It opened up my world. I met artists from Europe, good friends. I met some artists from Africa, from South Africa, Fate 47, who's also a good friend. So we talk about all these things. It just opens up your mind. And the thing about that is pushing you for your craft. You want to be different. The competition is no longer Kenya. The competition is worldwide. So it's about
and the enemy we say is poverty. It's not me or you.
Not. I put it all
the other things, not you, not me. Yeah.
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
I have been working really hard. I've been saving my money. Everything I've done is no sponsorship. It's my money.
Yeah.
I've saved every shilling that I get, dollar I get, 4 flights to build a career. So you see me in Mexico, chilling there, painting there. I have my clientele. You see me in LA, working there.
But it shouldn't be misconstrued to you're out here vacationing.
No. I'm working. I'm grinding, bro.
And you know, Bhupi he's fallen on some inheritance. Nah, bruh.
No, I have no inheritance.
He's literally sacrificing the joys. Like, you could be busy driving some expensive car in Nairobi. But if you do that, it means you can't get to Mexico.
Exactly.
It means you can't survive in Argentina.
Exactly. And I was in Cuba. This year I've been in Cuba 2 times.
Yeah, I like how you said you're in Cuba.
I'm Cuba.
Hey, he was in Cuba.
I'm in Cuba, in La Havana.
Oh, God. You know, first and foremost, because I see all your Instagram, and that's why I know all the places you go to.
Yeah.
You really go to the most amazing places.
I know. Thank you, man.
Okay, so you're here with Lady Pink, with the family, with her, Lisa with her family. How does it feel to be in the midst of the greats? How does that make you feel in terms of, I've worked so hard, oh my God, I am here.
Yeah.
Do you pinch yourself and say, shit, look at me?
Oof, that's a good question as well, man. I think when you're in the mix, you don't really I mean, you do appreciate how far you've reached, but when you're alone, that time to self-reflect, that meditation on a flight or on a bus, no internet, no nothing, you think about those days.
Wow.
Even now, I still think about those days. Like, I am blessed. I am super lucky to make that choice to get to that level and say, hey, you know what, man, this is crazy. I never thought in my entire life that I would be doing this for a career, bro. It was not a decision that I sat down and I said, hey, let's do some cultural appropriation because hip hop is selling.
Exactly.
I've been born and raised.
This is me.
You know, like this is another conversation about cultural appropriation. But anyway, when you're born into this thing as your first CD that I ever got was a Tupac CD, Tupacalypse Now. That was his first album in 1991 or 1990, and I was like, that got me into hip hop. That got me into discovering the beef between these two camps.
Exactly.
All of that. And it was just right. I did a little bit of rap. I did a lot of that kind of stuff with Point Blank, with Black Skills. They all know, you know. But I gravitated toward street art, you know, and making that decision, like, it was not even a decision, it was organic. Like, you just flow and you're like, you know what, this is my ocean, I want this.
What did you learn about yourself when what are you learning about yourself as you travel the world, when you're in Mexico, when you're in Cuba, when you're in Argentina, you know, when you're in the midst of people who don't speak your language? What do you realize about yourself, about the nuances that create who you are? What do you learn?
One thing I learned is that I have to represent where I'm coming from, especially being a mix. Well, I wouldn't say an entire mix. I have both cultures, which I'm proud of, the Kenyan one and the Indian one. So I do represent those equally, or mostly it's the Kenyan one because I'm more connected to it. My friends, the way we talk, the way we think also is very important. There's a certain Kenyan way of thinking.
Yeah, we're very different.
We are very different. But the hustle is there. So that's the first thing. Second is more like, I'm in this space, so I have to make sure that whatever I'm putting out there in terms of my work, it has to be at par. It cannot be one of those substandard projects that I do just because I'm blessed to be there.
Exactly,
I'm blessed to be there, but I need to paint.
Represent a whole country,
I have done projects in France, for example. Everybody else in that festival, someone's from Holland, someone's from Italy, someone's from Australia, someone's from what? But they see my tag, Kenya. People just flock, They ask me questions. I always tell them, this is how my history is. And they always are like, yeah, it's fine, because in Morocco, they have the same. In Nigeria, they have the same. You have people moving. Migration is everywhere. But they always respect where you're coming from. And that curiosity, you see, that's flying the flag. This thing of like, we need to pay people to start flying the flag. No, it doesn't make sense. If you have the right people. I've been to so many places. In Cuba, I've painted. And they've always asked me, where you're from? Kenya. And that's when the story comes. Mexicans always ask me questions. Are you a runner? I'm like, yeah, we've been running all our lives.
But we don't run for competition. I'm not running away. I'm running from. So I'm running to you guys. So I can create, so I can be me.
Exactly. You know? And it's crazy. But it breaks the ice. And you can have these conversations with these people. So I think coming from where we don't know these things unless when you travel, you know, you are proud. You see how they wear the
exactly,
Kenyan
bracelet,
I don't wear it.
I think because we're Kenyan. Like for me, I don't have one.
This nationalism. When you're
outside. When you're not Kenyan, you see it and you're like, I want it.
I want it.
As well, like me, I'm already Kenyan. It's okay. I'm fine with it. So, what culture have you sort of immersed yourself in? First, do you speak any foreign languages?
I speak Spanish. Not completely, but I speak enough Spanish to get me through a lot.
Which country did you go to and it literally changed your mindset? Maybe in terms of like, ooh, I would move here if I didn't have ties in Kenya. I would move here.
I think Mexico.
Wow, why?
I would move Mexico. I think art is amazing, culture is amazing, people are great. There's a lot more to do there. Like just Mexico City has over 300 museums. You can visit each museum every day. And you'll still not be able to do all of them. Which is great. And they have represented their culture. They've preserved their culture really well. Right now, we have Halloween that's coming. And then there's Dia de Muertos. Dia de Muertos, you know it. It's the Mexican one, which is celebrating the Day of the Dead.
The Day of the Dead. It's like
it's a 5-day
Halloween
festival.
of sorts, but
you know, it's
very intentional. It's not just some random.
Exactly.
Wearing costumes. It's really
dope.
Respecting the dead.
You go to the cemetery and people cook for the loved ones who have passed away.
Yeah.
They cook for them their favorite food.
Yeah, but I know you as a Kenyan at the beginning. You know Kenyans kuna kaushamba.
No,
I know you are like,
ukiangalia unahepa.
Bro, you know, I mean, people will tell you, it's okay. They'll even tell you, even your dead people, if you have any ancestors, it's your time now. Like, get in the zone with us and respect them. You're like, I get it.
Yeah.
But for me, if my parents had them here with the dead, they'd be like, Bhupi, tulikuambia.
Ni uchawi.
Tulikuambia ukienda kwa watu.
Hepa buda.
Usiweze kufanya hizi vitu.
Hapana, sasa angalia.
Yeah, but it's nice when you expose yourself that way, because it also allows you, because a lot of us do fear death, but it makes you, allows you to live.
But it's another process. It's transcending. Life ends, then death is another transition. It's respected. It's inevitable. They represent the dead like
they don't play.
It's amazing.
I mean, I've seen them from their artifacts, from the art and what they even sell you in that period of time.
Right.
The way they have the processions.
Right.
I mean, for me, what that festival made me understand is to not really focus on death.
Yeah.
On this big phenomena on death,
right.
But also to focus on life.
Because
once I'm gone,
right.
The ones who are alive will deal with me.
Yeah,
so why am I so focused about how I'm gonna go?
No.
They will deal with me. They'll deal with
it.
So there's that, and then there's also Cuba, which I mean, for the longest time, it's very artistic, but also an artist out of necessity to survive. Because for the longest time, they've had embargoes, they've had all this, you know, just the whole world being against them. But it leads me to also now bring in a controversial conversation, which is with the Palestinians.
Yeah.
I was watching a guy called, I think, Yusuf Bassem. I think he was with
because he's an Egyptian comedian. He lives in Los Angeles.
He's the most funniest, dark, humorous. And he's just ridiculous.
But he's cracked the code.
He's dope.
The only way you can speak about certain things is if you use sarcasm.
Exactly.
Because people don't understand.
They don't understand.
If you're going to fight fire with fire, they're going to label you as certain things.
You're going to have a whole conversation where you're being asked, do you denounce Hamas? And you're just like, okay,
but they're not the Palestinian
but now,
people.
that's not why we are here.
Yeah.
But because when you say, and I realize most of the conversations begin with, do you denounce Hamas? And what they're basically alluding to is that once you first have to say yes, for you to now agree that anything that is meted on to the Palestinians, there's grounds for terrorizing them.
Yeah.
Well, the real conversation should be, do you denounce terrorism? Period. Because all sides, I mean, there's a whole issue. Before we get into the political side of it, as an artist of our times, we always have to stand for something or fall for anything.
Right.
I'm not gonna sit here and ask us about, you know, are the Israelis right, are the Palestinians wrong, or whatever. But what is your? Because you've seen it in either in Mexico, in Cuba, and when you
I've
really
seen
feel
it in New York also with the protests there. I've been part of them.
Where a whole nation is literally felt to feel like they are like animals or like dogs. How does it make you feel when a whole generation of people literally cannot speak up for themselves?
Yeah. In this situation, as an artist, I think, well, even not just an artist, people are artists, but people don't even usually read or do their research in terms of these important things. Everything we've seen in the past with the ANC in South Africa, in Yugoslavia, what else? In the Armenian genocide. What else can we say?
In Uganda here.
In Uganda.
With the opposition,
with the LRA, with the Lord's Resistance Army.
Even with BY, I mean.
Exactly, just right now.
I can't even breathe.
Exactly. Even with the IRA in Ireland.
In Ireland,
Even with the indigenous population in any part, Australia, whatever. You have to understand one thing, that Western propaganda always triumphs, because this is how we've been programmed. And it's not, I don't think it's our fault, but I think we are living in an information age. You have everything on your device. You have people who are talking about independent reports, things like that. And then at the same time, it's nothing to do with religion or to do with a people. It's to do with humanity. If you see that this is what's happening, and then there's a certain level of propaganda that's been perpetuated, and you are blindly following that because you have allegiances or you do not want to face the truth. You can always switch the truth. Doesn't matter. But the thing is, it's happening now in our time. 10 years from now, it may end. And then we'll look at it back. Just the same way we had the Mau Mau and we had the home guard. Just the way we had the Mau Mau and the home guard.
Yes.
Those are the same people. The home guard used to. You remember how they used to put on these these sheets on people who are going to identify who are rebellion, who are rebelling against the British government here in Kenya. And they would take them in the Land Rovers and they'll disappear. But these are our own people.
Even the concept behind
Think about it.
Identity card.
It's fucking crazy.
The ID, it comes from the Kipande system. That you have to walk and explain who you are because you're not rebellious, you're not part of the rebellion. And we still have the same shit
Rwanda, 94.
I mean, exactly.
In 100 days, they killed between 800,000 to 1 million people.
Yeah.
In 100, that's 10,000 people a day.
It happens 94.
A day.
Please note, in South Africa,
apartheid,
but even as Mandela is becoming president, has been released, this happened in Rwanda and some Western and Yugoslavia. And Western countries said what? They said, no, there's nothing. It's just a political issue. Only for them to realize 1 million people.
You know what they said? They said this is a tribal thing.
Yes.
That they are just going to sort it out.
Exactly.
But weapons were brought in by France, by Belgium, by the Israelis. These weapons were given. It's the funniest thing. It's not about being a certain way or against people. The facts are there. The facts are there. How can you dispute that? People are trying to be delusional about a history of 4,000 years ago.
Yes.
If you trace roots into that land of what you call Palestine, it's always been there.
Yeah.
Even when the time for Hitler, when he was persecuting all the Jews, and putting them in ghettos in Poland and whatever, most of them also were trying to escape, and they did escape on the boats to go to Palestine. And the Palestinians told them, "Listen, we are from the same father. Come to the land.
Yes.
We will take care of you.
Yes.
This is your land as much as it's ours.
Yes.
Run away from these Europeans who are killing you." And they did.
Yeah.
But then they came up with the European Jews came up with the concept of Zionism.
Yes.
That we need a state to protect ourselves.
Exactly.
And that's when this thing started.
Yeah.
It's not about religion.
Yeah. And remember also
it's all about land. It's always about land.
We're talking about the 1898 around 1904, 1905, where they had actually scouted Western Kenya.
They scouted Argentina as one and Uganda as second.
No. The thing is, when they say Uganda, is because they always thought about the old protectorate.
Right.
But now Uganda, that side that was considered Ugandan, had moved to Kenya. So they considered Uasin Gishu. My reason for bringing that is because to say, when you refuse to have a say in a whole generation of people, in a population of people being hurt, being terrorized, you're forgetting that this would have been easily at your doorstep.
It's not, so we forget. It's not. The same thing, look, Mahatma Gandhi was called a terrorist.
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela was called a terrorist.
But please,
but these are Western power.
It took Kibaki's time. Please note, the
wipe it off, to make them
during Kenyatta's time, they did not denounce Mau Mau as terrorists.
They were still fighting the
Kenyatta
regime.
Oh my God, these guys might just come back one day.
Today we're lucky we can have this conversation.
Thank you. That we can talk locked up. Right now, as we speak here, this place will be closed.
No, for sure.
Aliana would have been like, guys, I need an email from you guys to know exactly what you talk about.
What kind of conversation?
And then I want to send this to the OCS in Westlands so they can approve of the conversation you're going to have. I was reading an excerpt. Let me not be too personal, but I refused to buy the book by Beth Mogo, and there was an excerpt in the Daily Nation on, a serialization, and she was saying that Jomo Kenyatta refused to have the Mau Mau in his cabinet, and sort of in power, because he was afraid that they would end up having these generals trying to overtake and overpower and I'm like, and she said, if you think about it, she was probably very reasonable, and I'm like, why are you whitewashing the fact that what he basically did was say that the people who fought for this country do not deserve to be in power. They'd rather be destitute than actually be powerful, because they're powerful, they'll take over from me.
Yeah.
And trying to whitewash with books and with history. Yeah. And we like to celebrate people who've written books. But we must also question the nonsense they write in those books. I'll be very honest. I completely refuse and refute the fact that Kenyatta was anything but clever when he said that I don't want to have the Mau Mau generals in cabinet or in the military because they might decide one day to take over from me. You don't have a right to say that.
There's always that fear.
The only reason why you probably ended up at the top is because you could speak English.
No, but
with your nose.
But he was sponsored, right? He went to England.
Thank you.
And then he came back.
A project.
So when colonization ended, the British were like, hey, we can still give you Kenya.
Yeah.
But we'll still have our guy.
Projects.
That's what happened. It's a project.
Yeah, and that's why the likes of Gaddafi and the likes of
even in Cuba with Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. Che Guevara after that left. He left and he started doing his own revolution.
Yeah.
He was, I think, captured in Bolivia or something. And he's an Argentinian doctor. He was an Argentinian doctor. But he was sold out, I don't know by who.
Yeah.
To the CIA, and they got him in 1968. I can't remember when.
I
can't remember when.
Thomas Sankara, same
Sankara
story.
As well.
This guy really helped. And he said, guys, we don't want your aid.
But this Lumumba as well.
Yeah, Lumumba. We want, please.
In Congo.
Patrice Lumumba was just sold out.
Yeah.
By his BFF of all those years.
Siseko, what's his name?
Yeah, right next to him. And they dragged him in the streets. Killed him in the streets. Somebody who was liberating the Congo.
But remember, that's your colonizer. That's your Western power. That's the same thing that's happening right now. You don't need to know. You need to know the history, yes, but you don't need to know the religion. You just need to know humanity is suffering.
But that's that's the thing. But now the most powerful thing that we have is the truth. The first casualty of any war is the truth.
Right.
And that's exactly what's happening. Is that before you speak about Palestinians, you'll be reminded that they've beheaded children. And you're like, where are you getting this?
It's not verified at all.
But where are you getting this information from?
Yeah, it's not verified.
But because it's been stamped as the truth, now you feel like you cannot immediately talk about. And people must be able to, the same way when we have, there's nothing like a Muslim terrorist. It's actually Islamic terrorist. But a terrorist does not have a religion.
Think about it.
So when you begin to come against all Muslims, against anyone who professes to be in Islam religion, you're forgetting their humanity.
You know the first terrorists in the history of the world. The first ones were the Zealots and the Maccabees. They were the first. They coined the term terrorism comes from there. It was coined with the Zealots and the Maccabees. It's never been even Islamic or Hindu because you can be extremists.
Yeah.
But this is where it came from, uprisings and things like that. Even if today, if Jesus Christ was alive, he would be labeled as a terrorist. Because what he did, the same people who claim to sell out, like they say that, we are chosen people. Sure.
Yeah.
That's your belief. 100%. Agree or disagree.
Yeah.
Okay. But the Pharisees, they sold out Christ to Caesar because he was against business in the temple of his father.
And Caesar said, I don't see any.
And they said, this guy is trouble.
Yeah.
What did they do?
Yeah.
Roman capital punishment on the cross. But anyway, that is important in terms of politics. But
I think it's important for us to have this conversation because the context is very clear. Is that regardless of any war that is happening, regardless of what feels like it's right to say or not to say,
right,
we must always come back to the foundation of every single thing, the foundation of humanity,
right,
which is truth, which is fact.
Exactly.
And your fact might be a lie. And I think it's important for us to be like, you know what, I know you might be wrong. And to really sit and say, before I bomb your ass, to really say, like, why do you think I'm wrong?
Right.
And I explain to you and I say, because this is the proof, this is what I have.
Yeah.
So before I kill you or stab you because you are a threat to my truth, let me first question and dissect, what does your truth mean for me and my humanity?
Right.
Does it allow me to necessitate me to exist?
Right.
And if your truth will not allow me to exist, there's a problem. Because your truth cannot be a reason for me to not exist.
Yeah, exactly. The world's big.
Yeah, like
everybody
just because you're right doesn't mean that now this guy should be killed. Because I mean, look at him. What is he saying? What is he telling me? No.
Right.
First, examine what I'm trying to tell you, and then maybe we can live together. But people don't want to have that conversation. We don't want to talk about it. We're very keen on impressing anybody else but the truth.
Like most of these revolutions that have come, the truth is there for sure. Like right now when we are talking about these things, even Malcolm X had said it himself that it's not usually about religion and things like that.
Yeah.
It's about one basic thing. It's land. People fight for land. People bleed for land because it's the land of the ancestors, it's the land of whatever.
Yeah.
But they've always fought for land. The Mau didn't fight for Christianity or Kikuyu gods or Luo gods.
They're like, no, land.
It was always land.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when we go to fight with Uganda, for example. It's land. If you go to fight with Somalia, it's land.
It's
if you fight with Eritrea and Ethiopia with that
even this small
with
island
Tigra,
called Migingo.
Exactly.
It's land.
Yeah. Even it can be ocean, but it's still in quote unquote land.
Exactly.
It's what you own. When Mexico had their war, when the US had the US-Mexico war, when California, New Mexico and Texas, all of that was annexed into the American territory, was land. When Tel Aviv was bought by Zionist Jews from the British by paying money, that's land. When Louisiana Purchase happened by the Americans putting their money together and buying it off from the French, was land. Everything is about land. The religion part comes because people get riled up.
Exactly.
Emotions. It's not about facts. It's about feelings then. Everybody gets crazy. No, you did this because my God. No, this is like Mortal Kombat. You've not seen your God. I've not seen my God. It's things that have been passed down. But it's like whose God is the best. Like you choose characters on Street Fighter.
I need to see God through you. So I need to treat you.
God is love.
Exactly.
God is patience. God is compassion. The Bible says it itself. Even when you fall in love, love is not about possession. Love is about letting somebody go free. That is what love is, and it's about being patient, being understanding, being loving, being there for somebody, giving up something about yourself so you can be there for somebody, and then help that person get through it. That's love. That's what it is. Sacrifice. There's a lot of things. Compromise.
Exactly.
It's not like you lose yourself, but you do certain things out of love.
Yeah, you find yourself actually more.
You see?
Who do you anchor to in terms of like whether it's readings, whether it's historical figures who, when you read about them, when they ground you and they've helped to build this brain that I can feel today. Who are these people?
I like reading. I mean, I've been reading a lot before. I still read. I like Edward Said, who talks about the Palestinian issue. I read about a lot of poetry from Mahmoud Darwish. Books about even Naomi Klein, who talks about the shock doctrine, the stuff that's happened in Hawaii, and like crazy stuff that rich people do so they can steal your shit. Right now, I don't know what I'm reading. I don't think I'm reading anything right now. But those are the kind of, I read books. I also read, like I see what, for example, Tupac, because I grew up listening to that as my first albums. And he had a collection of books, and that inspired me. You read literature about revolution. I read the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Yes.
A lot of people read that revolutionary stuff, but they do the fucking opposite.
Exactly,
and it kind of baffles you. Like, you read Malcolm X and you're going to do the opposite. You're supporting a different cause. Like, how stupid can you be?
We're so quick to, to want to associate. But when it comes to actions,
no, exactly.
Not,
So those are the kind of things that I read. I mean, it's always good to. I also read stuff to do with art and how the art industry works and how graffiti has always been something important. If you look at the revolution in Egypt, the revolution there was a lot of work was put out on the walls. Was all graffiti stuff. Even the Jasmine Revolution in Tunisia, in Tunis, I don't know what year it was, but they used a lot of graffiti to put it out, the Arabic writings. If you see things in South Africa, they're also putting up these posters and stuff.
Exactly.
Even Russia, they had Russian propaganda that was pushed outside of Russia for support, and people use those colors and use those meanings. Like in Tunisia, for example, when I was there after the revolution, they were telling me that don't use the color purple because it represents the government. There's certain things, even like here, when we painted the train, with Bankslave and a couple of other artists.
Yes.
A peace train before the election in 2013, I think it was. Right before it was supposed, and this train passes through Kibera into Kikuyu and I think, and then I don't know where else and comes back. But they changed the cars different times, right?
Yeah.
But we were told not to paint orange and not to paint blue.
Because you've been cognizant about everything around you.
It goes through Kibera and you see orange, sure, they're gonna be happy. But it goes through another area
Kikuyu
and
becomes another thing,
they're gonna tear it down.
Exactly,
and it's over. So we kept colors neutral because it's also another science that you have to understand. Like, your knowledge has to be in the streets. Like now, you put me in a place, a rough neighborhood in Mexico, I will survive because I understand thanks to my upbringing here, painting in Kibera, painting in Dandora Phase 2. I used to go there a lot to see my friends in Ukoflani when they had their base with Giuliani, with Gaza, with the whole crew, man. And that allowed me to understand.
Everybody.
All of them, Jirong, everybody. And it was wild because times you look at them and they are fucking crazy. but you are there and you're protected. You're in this shelter and you're like, this is dope.
Yeah.
You know, and it was genuine. It was not like, hey, I want to be cool, so I want to hang out with you. We just made a great connection.
Exactly.
So those are the kind of things that I think will open up your horizon.
Yeah. I mean, in the same space, how do you ensure your mental health, your mental space is well taken care of? How do you ensure when you're traveling, when you're seeing these things, atrocities, before, sometimes even after or in the middle of all of this stuff, how do you ensure that, you stay sane and not go nuts from everything?
You gotta be tough, man. But I think that, I don't know, I feel like when you travel, there's always that gift of giving people, your presence. If you make good money, it's good to take some of your friends out for lunch, for dinner. So they forget the hardships in their life. And you bring in that inspiration into their work, into the conversations. Even here, when I'm here and you meet up with like young people who want to paint, sure, I have the time. But sometimes I don't. But when we do connect, we talk about the journey. And that inspires somebody. For a while, you forget about your troubles. The troubles are always going to be there. It's like the heartbeat. It's
always going to happen.
Ups and downs, right? But I don't know. You find things that you enjoy. And you fixate yourself there.
Exactly.
Hizo zingine unaacha manze.
I mean, so there's always, like you said, there's always going to be...
Politics is crazy.
It's always going to happen.
Depressed.
Yeah. We're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know hip-hop is the core of what you do. Graffiti is part of the elements of hip-hop. I mean, when you look at hip-hop then and growing up and now, what do you miss? What do you feel lacks? How do you celebrate hip-hop as Bhupi?
Well, I mean, I'm still loyal to my playlist.
Yeah.
Thanks to Spotify, I got a good playlist. But I got a mix of a lot of things. But I still stay true to my hip-hop that's from the 90s, the 80s. You listen to Nas, Illmatic, you listen to Big L, you listen to, Immortal Technique, which I had the privilege of meeting him in New York.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Wow. How was that experience?
It was great because I met him and we talked a little bit, but he's also very vocal in terms of political issues, which I love. Because he's not somebody who just follows.
Yeah.
He's somebody who thinks. And he has a lot of history. That's somebody who can inspire you or me.
I love when people have a backbone.
No, that's a backbone. No matter what happens, you
stay
your ground.
You just like, listen, I might offend you, but imagine I'm about to. It is what it is.
So I met him at a Zulu Nation concert. They were doing a Zulu Nation concert. One of my friends said, hey, it's a Zulu Nation concert. Let's go. I said, let's go. I had a friend was dancing, was b-boying. Amazing dude. He's from Iran, but he lives in the US. Super cool dude. Met Immortal Technique. We talked to him with a couple of friends. We were talking to him, and he was solid. Because I have friends who already know him, who've done work with him, with Dead Prez, with all these other guys who are very conscious about it. And I think that's what I love. Like, I love Dead Prez. I listen to Dead Prez like every day. Even now in the car, it's Dead Prez, RBG all day. A lot of people right now don't know Dead Prez. But if you do know Dead Prez,
are you talking about a dead artist?
Go listen to Dead Prez, and then you understand DP. DP.
You'll stay alive, man.
That was conscious stuff. Because Dead Prez teaches you about the Black Panther Party, Kwame Ture, Peter O'Neill, Bobby Seale. Like what are they called? This guy, what's he called? UAP Newton.
Yes.
That is something that's you need to know.
Exactly.
Like, you need to read Bobby Seale's book called Seize the Time, which is it's a revolution. Which art and revolution is together. Like now, if you talked about the Palestinian issue, the first intifada, they have two intifadas that have happened. The third intifada that's supposed to happen is supposed to be through music and art, to bring out the Palestinian struggle through music and art, which is a non-violent way, which is also a powerful way to reach people.
Music and art, very powerful.
Exactly. You have people raising money through concerts, for the wrong causes. It might be right for them, but music and art, that's revolution. Even when you saw in South Africa, they had many festivals about.
I mean, when you look at the revolution in South Africa, it was largely pushed by music. I mean, the singing, the chanting, the choirs, the people, the streets.
Even the boycotting of music festivals. That's still music.
It's still music.
Pink Floyd, because like Roger Waters saying, hey, you know what?
I know how much music means to you, so we're gonna take away that power to support your music, so you can feel it.
Exactly. And so that's the powerful thing.
In the same spirit, we also have a lot of dissociation with music and art in our schools.
Right.
In fact, if anything, when you look at agriculture, taken away from schools, and then when we come talk about food security, now we want guys to go back to learning about these things. When
That's
you look
wild.
at art,
That's
we're
wild.
like, oh, we need to better ourselves, we need to be more creative. I'm like, how are people going to be creative if it doesn't start in school? If you've demonized what it means to be a creative, if you've demonized music, if we used to have art and craft, you'd know immediately from the onset, this one is going to be an amazing artist.
Yeah.
We don't have any of that. How do you not challenge the government or anybody, or do you feel like you want to have programs where you can bring back art to the schools, bring back music to the schools?
I think for the schools it's difficult because they are run in a certain way.
Yeah.
Everything has changed in this
Very
world.
bureaucratic.
Very bureaucratic. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the right word. So much red tape.
Yeah.
And people are not really, they say educated, but they're not really educated. There are many things in life that God talks to you through these mediums.
Yes.
One of them is art.
Yes.
And that art encompasses music and visuals and all the other things. Even cooking is an art. Whatever you want to say is art, right? But what I can do with my gift, my talent is spread it with people that are close to me. I cannot change the world completely.
Exactly.
If I go to look for that, to change the world entirely, it's impossible.
Yeah.
I can change, like for you and I, we are talking. I know I've sparked something in you.
Exactly.
You will take it to your bubble.
Yes.
And your bubble will take it to their bubble. Everybody has their bubble. That's where the spark comes. That's
But even the fact that when you speak here on the podcast, on the platform, and you say that I've been to Mexico, I've been to Argentina, I've been to Tunisia, I've been to all these places that you've been to, and somebody hears and they say, let my kid draw. Maybe they just needed that to hear that and be like, you know what, I'll allow my kid to draw. My kid always loves drawing.
Encourage that.
Like, let them draw, because now they realize
that
all these things that I'm trying to make them achieve, this one is achieving by drawing. And this one in the house can do it.
Can sing.
So you do it. So you will stay in school, yes.
Even if your child can cook.
Cook.
Man, let him
and then
cook.
Because the thing is always when you realize, oh my God, my kid is cooking on TikTok and they're bloody famous and they're making money, then you realize, oh my God, I should stop trying to live vicariously through my kid by letting them be an accountant, forcing them they have to do this.
Those are old traditions.
And then how many accountants are we gonna have, man? Who's gonna make money? The accountants have to count the money. So who's making the money?
People like us.
Yeah, we have to make the money so they can count it.
You hire one accountant and it's over.
Imagine these are your tools.
Right.
You know, for me they always feel like guns.
It's a weapon. This is a weapon.
They always feel like guns, because when you guys are walking around with them, I mean, it feels like the way you guys are like hiding.
Yeah.
And you go and so first and foremost, when you paint walls in the streets of Bolivia, in Monrovia, in South Africa, wherever, there's a term, it's called tagging.
Yeah.
When you write your name.
When you write your name, but that was a long time ago. Like I said, everything has to evolve. You can't always be in a constant state.
Yeah.
There has to be either you devolve or you evolve. A lot of people who came out of WaPi, what we had talked about, most artists devolved. The ones who are hungry evolved. You see it. Like yourself. You have to thank nobody else but you.
I love that.
You saw the picture. You saw the vision. It's the same thing I did.
Yes.
That's why we are where we are.
Yeah.
And we're having this conversation.
So we're still able to sit here and
I could have been doing a 9 to 5, bro.
Yeah.
I would be doing a 9 to 5
be like,
graphic design.
I'm sorry. But it's no longer. Or you probably be asking me, Anto, how come you don't have a podcast by now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see, that's the thing. But you had to build all this to get to where you are now. And you'll still do whatever you need to do later. But that's the thing. Like, I evolved from the whole idea of tagging, and I did graffiti. Yes, that was my basis. Then I started doing more of the murals, which is more of the street art. What the label is as a category, but I'm just a painter. Yeah, I paint murals. I paint big walls.
You paint
intervene.
This. We're gonna pan and show you guys
this kind of stuff.
Si, senor, and we're gonna show you more about how it looks like. So we'll show guys how that looks like.
Yeah.
But in the same spirit, tell us, how does it happen? How for you to be inspired to create something like Si, senor, since you can see it from here, take us through what happened. Like, you got a brief, or how did Akina Liana know about you? How does, for people to understand that this isn't a thing of like, no, like how it's very professional also. How did this happen?
So I've been talking with them for NSK for before this project, 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was here when there was like they were breaking this thing down and really building it up. So it was never part of the project. It was something else. It never got like fixated, like you have to paint this. Then I saw this and I'm like, what is this spot? And they're like, it's a Mexican restaurant. I'm like, give it to me. Let me paint it. Because I spent so much time in Mexico. And I can bring that essence. So they gave me the color scheme and they said, hey, this is what we want. And even on the van over here, that's the agave, that's the maguey. Maguey is it's where the mezcal or the tequila comes from. That's the flower. It's an abstract flower.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, the maguey.
Now I see the
in the middle. That's the maguey. So the maguey is like the heart of the. It's where the tequila. It's
like, you know how the aloe vera looks like?
They chop off the leaves.
Yeah, they chop off the leaves and then
that's the heart.
Then there's the way they chop off the roots so they can the corazon.
Corazon de maguey, which is the
First
heart.
and foremost, you look very Mexican when you speak like that.
I mean, I
the
got
maguey.
The maguey.
The corazon. You look so Mexican. I'm like, who am I sitting with?
You gotta play the part, my friend.
I love it.
You gotta play the part.
So now, that's what it is.
So that's the maguey. Even the other side, it's a green maguey, which is very abstract. Also represents, spirit and culture.
But also from an artistic, but also from a brief perspective. But you're also challenging us and challenging corporates, telling people that, you know what, this literally you don't have to do things as usual. Let's go out there, like, get me to come on your project, so I can bring all my exposure, my travels, my all these things, and show you a different thing. It can't always be the same thing. Our color brand is green. Let's paint color green. There's more to art than just a paint or a color.
I have worked with like digital agencies. This is the problem I have in this country. Like, even outside, I think digital agencies can be very boxed in. You have a brief, you work on a brief, and that's fine. The creativity is very minimal. It's like 5%, 10%. But once you give an artist full reign, of course, you're going to have a back and forth, and figure it out. It's your brand, whatever. But once you give an artist that, you're going to get the purest form of art that you can be proud of. But in this country, a lot of people who work for these agencies are always like, hey, you know what? We are the artists. We are the creative people. And I don't like that terminology that we are creatives. Not everybody's a creative. You just give it to yourself.
This isn't some time you just throw around.
People are throwing that thing like, I have OCD. Bro, you know what OCD is? OCD is...
it's true. Even when it comes to mental health, we love to throw these things that
just throw it. I have OCD. Like,
there's a friend of mine who she says her cat has anxiety.
Like, how?
I'm like, just fuck out of here, man. What do you mean?
It's a cat.
How do you diagnose a cat?
Imagine. So
because I'm like, how come this cat doesn't want to like hang out with me when I come to your house? The cat is just
it's
there.
A cat.
This cat has anxiety, so it doesn't like people. I'm like, fuck off.
No, all the cats are like that. Some cats are very clingy, some cats are not.
Yeah, but it's how we reduce people's experiences to we induce our experiences to be on the same level as you, so I can reduce your say or your fact in this matter. I say, I'm an artist. No, you're not. No.
This is the problem I have. A lot of people, and then even there's this culture of everybody's positively reinforcing it. For example, you do some line work and amazing, this is beautiful, this should be up on a billboard, and I don't think so. Like, honestly speaking. Like, that's irrelevant. That fake positive reinforcement.
Exactly.
Even with kids, man. If a child comes number 5 running, amazing, you did a great job. No. You did a great job. That's it. Leave it there. You start giving them medals and certificates. Come on,
or you basically say, listen, that was nice.
Where's competition? Where's
but
the
also
spirit?
for number 1, 2, and 3, let them enjoy. This isn't your day.
And that's the thing.
Like the idea of like you also have to get a certificate. You have to be like, you're amazing. Because I grew up in a competitive world.
Me too.
When it came to sports day, I knew my ass would sit there and watch everybody else.
Same thing.
I would sit there.
Right.
Even my own parents wouldn't come on sports day because you know how they have to make their parents run. And no. We will not even that. Because then you're not even going to compete.
Exactly.
But when it came to music, you sit there because I'm gonna sit up there.
Exactly.
So it's also a tough love.
Right.
It's tough love sort of thing. We're very quick to, to want to, to just cuddle everybody and cuddle everybody's feelings.
Right.
And when you speak like me, you rub everyone the wrong way. But look at me, we're still here, still standing.
Exactly.
How does the future look like for Bhupi, for WiseTwo? It's I don't like asking this question because I always feel like we can't really tell how it's gonna look like. But how does it look like for you? What do you envision this future will look like? Where is this one place you wanna go to you haven't traveled to? I mean, you're just like, you know what, Anto, I want to go to Australia, and I don't know why they're stopping me from going there.
I've already been to Australia.
You see? Okay, let's do a breakdown.
I pay in Australia also.
Make sure you have the flags of all these countries.
I've been everywhere.
Okay, tell us where you've been.
I've been to Australia. I have been to Malaysia, Singapore, India. I have been to. Well, I need to discover a little bit of Russia and China and Mongolia. I haven't been in those places, which I would love to. Japan as well, I would love to be.
Oh my God.
I've been to Europe.
I'd love to go to Japan.
Japan as well, I would love to do it. I know I can do it.
Yeah.
It's just getting a project or just getting there.
Exactly.
Europe, a lot in Europe, in Austria, in Netherlands, in England, in France. In Germany, I painted a lot in Latin America. I think my soul's very connected to Latin America. China, not yet. I was supposed to go there during but then COVID
did its thing from China.
Yeah, but from China, man, it was like if I go there, I'm gonna be trapped for 2 years.
You'll not leave,
So that never happened. But anyway, I have other places that I've been to Latin America quite a bit. I've been to Argentina, to Cuba, to Mexico.
Yeah.
To the
Do you
US,
feel like you haven't traveled a lot in Africa because they don't get it?
The thing is, I have traveled to Tunisia twice. I've been to Rwanda. I've been to South Africa twice.
Nice.
I've been to TZ as well.
Nice.
The problem with the problem with Africa is that there are not so many flights.
Yeah.
So like when you're in Europe, you get
and they're expensive.
It's $700 just to go to Malawi, which is right here. Plus Mozambique, Malawi, $700. South Africa, the same, $900.
Expensive,
Eritrea, I have a good friend in Eritrea. Like he's living here, but a very good friend of mine. He said, hey, let's go to Eritrea. But the funniest thing is, before they open up the borders or anything like that where you could fly, you had to take a flight, Emirates, to go to Dubai. You leave your continent to come back to your continent, which costs you $800 to $900.
Wow.
To go to Eritrea, which is an hour and a half. Now Ethiopian Airlines flies there. I'm not sure if they still do it, but what I know from my knowledge,
it's not been an easy ride at all.
You can fly to Eritrea,
exactly,
which is supposed to be $300.
I have a friend of mine who came from London to Nairobi, and it's cheaper for her than to Nairobi to Dar es Salaam.
Oh, 100%.
It's like, bro, this is your continent. Let me just go to Diani. I'm not gonna travel around Africa.
Fuel
it's too
cost,
expensive.
The taxes, it's expensive.
Yeah.
This is the thing when you find a lot of leaders who are coming with the idea of creating a unified Africa.
Yeah.
In terms of voting, in terms of travel, in terms of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Where do they end up? Dead. Okay. But that's the thing.
Dead, or if not dead, they'll be completely annihilated. No support. There'll be embargoes. I mean, if they don't want to finish you, they'll make your life a living hell.
And it ends there.
Like Zimbabwe, they're not going to kill Mnangagwa, it's called, but they will make sure the country is on its knees.
Yeah, but I mean, for him, it's also controversial. Like in terms of the gold dealings and a lot of things that they've been involved
Probably
in.
the guy is just like, yo, me, I gotta survive.
But it's Africa.
Yeah, I was like, me, I gotta survive.
Even Gaddafi, when Gaddafi was alive, he was bankrolling all these economies with oil money.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like he talked about unifying Africa. Great Britain was like,
nah, bro,
you're not gonna unify.
It's not gonna happen.
Our chocolate is not gonna come
Get
through.
a bottle of water.
I got a bottle of water.
Get a bottle of water and die.
That's what happened.
And then they make everybody come against you. They arm your people and disarm you.
We are a powerful continent.
And literally finish your ass. That's what's gonna happen.
We are a powerful continent. You know, the artists that are coming from here are powerful.
Yeah.
For example, Nigeria. Nigeria, when we were starting off, even with street art,
yes,
you can put me or Bankslave or Swift on the same. We're not on the level of them.
They're not even close.
They are not close.
Yep.
The thing they have is great marketing and
PR.
and
also numbers. I mean,
you can't compete.
Yeah,
I guarantee you can't compete with the street artists.
So difficult.
Even musicians, they're doing really well.
Yeah.
But there are musicians here also are fire, bro. We don't have a sound.
Exactly.
Why don't we have our own sound? You have Amapiano and we have Afrobeat courtesy of Fela in Nigeria. Then they switch it up and they use Afrobeat.
Because I've seen this before with on another platform. Is that we as Kenyan fans, we are so big on being critics that before we actually get to love what we actually need to love and evolve to create a sound, we'll be the first to shut down what it means to have a Kenyan sound. Then we'll be just be the first.
Criticize everything.
Too much.
Too much.
Oh, but he's in Mexico. Yeah, but his tag, I don't like the way his tag looks like. Have you seen... Anyway,
that's fine.
Moving on, as we conclude, finally, like I always say, like I speak like an African headmaster. And in conclusion, last but not least, let me make my final point. Banksy. There's been many documentaries about Banksy, how he looks like, who he is, and all of that stuff. Who's Banksy?
I mean, if you ask me, my personal opinion, I don't care.
Yeah.
I feel like I know
as
friends,
you say that,
I have friends who've painted for his festival, you know.
Do you feel what he does is so revolutionary, like that it's worth the hype and the money and the attachment? Or do you feel like this is a beautiful marketing scheme? Just a well thought out marketing scheme?
I would say both. The fact that when he started off was interesting. Even now that people go crazy. Because this is the world. The world works very funny. People are buying into the hype. Yes, cool. Stuff that he does, amazing. Sure, whatever. But for me, I don't think that I should be paying so much attention to that. I mean, I like the way that he's also supporting a Palestinian cause he's got the world, I can't remember the hotel that he's created in the West Bank, which is also controversial and interesting. But at the same time, I think that he knows the capitalist model, and he's used that to make money off it. Like the shredding of the painting. People will buy it because it's Banksy and it's like a revolutionary thing.
Yeah, like that painting that he sold for...
That shredded it, I think Christie's or Sotheby's or I don't know.
When the bell rang...
It's shredded.
It started shredding.
So the price goes up.
And the price went up immediately from like, let's say it was 3x to like 52x.
Right.
It just went up,
I think he's a necessary evil, and I think he's also relevant. I think he's a relevant person in his own way. He does fill in the gaps with a lot of things. He does talk about certain things that are very important. But I would not buy into the hype. I don't like the hype. I just like the consistency. I have friends who do amazing work, but they have that consistency. I like the same thing with Banksy, but I'm not so honed in about who is this person.
Exactly.
Do I need to know? I don't care.
You won't lose sleep. What people need to know is who is Bhupi. That's all.
Well, I'm just exactly. I'm just an artist. I'm just a traveler actually. I'm just traveling and meeting people and painting and inspiring people along the way. So with this podcast, maybe somebody else will get inspired. And even now that it's very intimate, where we're talking about deep things, about politics, about art, even about here in Kenya. So it's like finally something. Because usually I stay undercover. I don't like to,
you don't like to talk too much. Because I mean, also the other thing is that the content has to matter. But in that same breath, thank you for making a stopover.
Thank you.
On your journey of life, on your sojourn of life. It's a sojourner. As you do your thing. Thank you for making a stopover here, because I feel like this is a very necessary conversation. And I've seen you do your thing from the pits of WaPi. To literally the star of
worldwide.
Of the Statue of Liberty. So thank you for making time, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I appreciate it, bro.
Awesome. Make sure you follow Bhupi all over WiseTwo. Because you gotta stay wise, okay? Stay wise, WiseTwo. TWO, Wise Wabili. Because there's like two people here and two people over here. And make sure you show him some love everywhere. If you have a project and you feel like, you know what, I want my kids to know more about what WiseTwo does, and I want my kids to be inspired by his art. Or you're just basically like, you know what, my office needs something more artistic. I'm tired of hearing the same things from interior decorators. You put a big lamp here.
Straight up, man.
Put a big lamp here, and then there's a chair from Sotheby's. We don't give a shit about that.
$4,000.
Nah, bruh. Get Bhupi the $4K and let him show you how to transform. By the way, for me, I feel like Kenyan brands don't use like mural artists, like graffiti artists really like well. Because
they don't utilize.
I want to come to your. I want to come to your office. And not just the usual brand colors. No, bro. You could. When I come into your office as a corporate, let me see what's on your wall and say, I want these guys to handle my pitch. Because if they can tell a story on a wall,
Yeah.
damn it, they can tell my story.
Exactly.
So tell your story with WiseTwo. That's all. Be wise.
Be wise.
Be wise. Be wise. And on that note, Happy New Year. No, guys, we're going to have a special when we talk about all our New Year resolutions. I don't really care about resolutions because I make them every single day. But yeah, enjoy yourself and have a great weekend. That's what's up. Thank you for choosing Unlock Your Soul podcast, where it helps you to grow and, of course, unlock your soul. I hope you learned something new, something bright, something great today, and that you can also share this podcast with each and every single person that you know. All you gotta do is review, like, and share this podcast on your favorite social media platform. Also, make sure you check us out on YouTube at Unlock Your Soul Podcast, on Instagram at Unlock Your Soul Pod, and on TikTok at Unlock Your Soul Podcast. It's time